Oh boy, you know what that music means? It's time for me to get up out of this chair and walk over to the other side of the expansive Studio 9 to that chair, because sitting in one of those chairs is Craig Button, our director of scouting. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Jay.
Great to see
Did
you.
anybody ever walk over to you?
Yeah, I don't want to make people do that. You're a guest on my show. I should be walking to you.
Just seems just one way. It'd be two-way.
Yeah, I guess so. By the way, I still love that you're going sockless. Makes me so happy. Leafs dropped their first game of the season. So they've allowed 13 goals. I love how we overreact to every game, but they've allowed 13 goals in the first 3 games against competition that you could argue is maybe not equal to them. Any concern about the Leafs' defensive play right now?
Yeah, I mean, when you give up that many goals to what I would call certainly the Montreal Canadiens and the Chicago Blackhawks aren't what you would call top competition. Minnesota Wild, you can't call them a Stanley Cup contender. Those are their first 3 games.
Yeah.
Now, there's no sense to overreact or, for cause for concern or whatnot. But here's where I'm at with the Leafs. The Leafs have done absolutely nothing come playoff time. Nothing. They have failed spectacularly come playoff time. So everything to me in the regular season is a dress rehearsal for the playoffs. So they're going along perfectly in their dress rehearsal to have another spectacular failure. And, we see stretches where they can be really, really good. They have to zero in and take the season seriously. I could understand if they're 2 years into this tenor, if they're 3 years into it.
Yeah.
It's too long.
Yeah.
And you have nothing to hang your hat on. Nothing. So when you're going through the season, dialing it in, dialing it up, it matters. Taking care of business is what Luke Wilson said.
Yep.
Take care of business. They're not taking care of business. And I get it. They're going to get 100 points plus. But it's about getting ready for the playoffs when the competition you're going to face is real. And for a lot of the competition they're going to face in the playoffs, they usually take care of business.
Yeah.
Because if the Leafs would have been taking care of business, maybe we'd be talking about a little more success come playoff time. And keep this in mind. This is only about playoffs.
Absolutely.
For the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not impressed with their first 3 games.
Okay, fair enough. How about Connor Bedard? You've been impressed with him first 3 games?
Well, how can you not be impressed with him?
Yeah, he's been so great.
Well, you think Crosby into Boston for their 100th anniversary.
Yeah.
Home opener in Montreal. Now he comes to Toronto. I mean, he's in the spotlight. And the bottom line is that's what you get when you're a generational player and a number 1 overall pick.
I'm curious, though, because there was a little talk today from his teammate Taylor Hall. We had the clip earlier. And from Austin Matthews even suggesting that perhaps he's granting too many media requests, too many in-game interviews. He's a nice kid and he wants to make everyone happy, so he's saying yes to a lot of things. Now, maybe the Chicago Blackhawks PR people should be shielding him from that a little bit, but I'm curious to get your take on it, especially as someone who sees so many junior players and sees them have to deal with the media at such a young age.
Well, let's go back to Taylor and Austin. First overall picks, went to big markets. Taylor to the Edmonton market, Austin to the Toronto market. They can speak to what it means to be a first overall pick and come into the league and have a real focus and demands on you. But when you're the first overall pick and you're a generational player, this is what happens. This is what you have to get accustomed to. I mean, we all know that the league has made a real strong focus of Connor Bedard coming into the league. The Chicago Blackhawks are. So this isn't so much about taking Connor Bedard and putting him in bubble wrap. It's about, hey, you got to learn. Just like he has to learn playing against NHL competition, he has to learn how to deal with the media. He has to learn how to manage it. And yes, the Chicago Blackhawks media group can work with him there, but this is the first week of his career.
Yeah.
And you're going into, you're playing Crosby, you're into Boston, Montreal, Toronto. This is what is to be expected. What Connor Bedard is going to realize is it's not going to be like this every day for him. For Austin Matthews and Taylor Hall, it was every day they were at home in Edmonton and Toronto. So
yeah.
I just think it's part of the baptism, so to speak, for Connor Bedard. He'll be just fine. He handles himself very, very well. And to me, it doesn't affect his play whatsoever.
You've talked about it constantly, how prepared he is, how he's been dealing with this for a long, long time. So I tend to agree with you. Calgary Flames, second straight road loss in which they were actually in the lead at one point. What have you thought of their performance during those 2 road losses?
Yeah, I mean, the third period fell apart for them in Pittsburgh. They were playing a really good game. They had things under control, and it fell apart. It fell apart in the first 41 seconds of the third period against Pittsburgh. This game, they're out in front. They're carrying play significantly. Washington wasn't even touching the puck. They get up 2-0, and then the former Flame, Matthew Phillips, who, you know, a lot of people feel they didn't give him a fair enough shot. He gets a goal and an assist in this game. They take a too many men on the ice penalty in overtime. They end up surviving that, but get to a shootout. You play this well, you've got to find a way to get 2 points. Yeah, they come out of it with 1 point and everything, but under Ryan Huska and a new coaching staff and a new culture with Craig Conroy as the GM, you know, you can't let points like this move away. It's not good enough to say, well, we played well enough to win. Well, you didn't win.
Right.
So therefore, you can't fall back on that. And I think for the Calgary Flames, like, you're now going into Buffalo. It's not going to get easier going into Buffalo. You have to take care of business. Just like I talked about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's right.
They want to put last year behind them. You don't do that by going in with a 2-0 lead, playing so well, and then letting it fall away from you.
And Buffalo's, you and I have talked about it, they're not an easy win anymore. Buffalo's an up-and-coming team with a lot of great young players. Craig's going to stick around. We got a lot to talk about. Edmonton Oilers already switching up the lineup. Montreal with some injury issues early on in the season. One of my favorites. We'll talk about that. But when we return on the show, yes, we will get to the baseball playoffs, the National League Championship Series. Bryce Harper and the Phillies against the D-backs.